It's late. The room is dark. You've been lying here for a while now, and sleep isn't coming. You've checked the time twice. You've told yourself to stop checking. You've thought about tomorrow, about something you said 3 years ago, about nothing at all. And somewhere underneath it, there's a small, quiet feeling that something is wrong with you. It isn't. What you're doing right now, in this exact moment, is something your ancestors did for 300,000 years. And they didn't have a word for it. Because to them, it wasn't a problem. It was just part of the night. So what did they actually do in these hours? The hours you're awake in right now? The answer is older and stranger than insomnia. Start with the body. Your body did not invent this wakefulness tonight. It's running a program that's older than language. Around 2 to 4 a.m., your core temperature bottoms out. Your cortisol begins to rise hours before dawn. Your brain shifts out of deep sleep and into something lighter, thinner, more porous. For most of human history, this wasn't a malfunction. It was a scheduled event. Historian Roger Kirch spent 16 years going through medieval diaries, court records, prayer books, and medical texts. He found more than 500 references to something almost no one alive today remembers. First sleep and second sleep. People went to bed shortly after dark, slept for about 4 hours, and then woke. Not by accident. On purpose. They stayed awake for 1 to 2 hours in the middle of the night. Then they went back down until dawn. The wakeful period had a name. The watch. And what did they do during it? Almost everything you can imagine. A French physician in the 16th century recommended that couples conceive children during the watch, because they would do it better. People prayed. They visited neighbors quietly. They tended the fire. They interpreted dreams while the dreams were still fresh. They sat in the dark and thought. A doctor's manual from the 1500s advised that the watch was the best time to study, because the mind was calm and the world was still. But that's only what people did when sleep arrived and then released them. What about the nights when sleep refused entirely? Those nights had their own rituals. In ancient Mesopotamia, sleeplessness was treated as the work of spirits. Tablets from over 4,000 years ago describe incantations whispered into the dark, salt scattered at the threshold, small clay figures buried under the bed to absorb the wakefulness. In ancient Egypt, physicians prescribed wine mixed with opium poppy. In ancient Greece, the truly sleepless made pilgrimages to sleep temples called Asclepia, where they would lie in stone chambers, fast, drink prepared herbs, and wait for a healing dream. The herbs themselves were not gentle. Henbane, mandrake, valerian, opium poppy, wild lettuce. Plants that crossed the line between medicine and something darker. A bad dose of mandrake didn't bring sleep. It brought hallucinations and sometimes death. But here's what almost no one talks about. For a lot of ancient humans, the goal at night wasn't always to sleep. Sometimes it was to stay awake on purpose. Across the world, in cultures that never met each other, the deepest hours of the night were treated as sacred. Vigils. Vision quests. All-night prayer. Initiates kept awake by elders until something cracked open in them. The Lakota stayed awake on hills. Christian monks rose at 2 a.m. for the office of vigils. Aboriginal Australians sat by fires through the dark to dream while waking. In these traditions, sleeplessness wasn't a problem to be cured. It was a doorway. The state that Ware's subjects described as peaceful and meditative, the one your ancestors entered in the middle of the night, may be the same state these traditions were trying to reach on purpose. Which raises an uncomfortable question. What if your insomnia isn't broken? What if it's a memory? But it would be dishonest to make this only beautiful. Sleeplessness in the ancient world also had a cost, and the cost could be brutal. A person who couldn't sleep was a person who couldn't keep up. They were slower at the hunt. slower to react to a snapping branch in the dark, slower at processing the long calculations of a hard day. In small bands of 40 or 50 people, weakness was visible. There are ethnographic accounts of individuals in pre-industrial groups described as night-cursed, restless, marked, accused of being touched by spirits or by something worse. The same wakefulness that became prayer in a monastery could become exile in a village. And there was the predator problem. The watch belonged to the camp. A person wandering off into the dark alone at 3 a.m., away from the fire, alone with their racing thoughts, was a person who often did not come back. Modern hunter-gatherer studies have documented this exact pattern. Wandering from the fire at night still kills people, even today. So your ancestors developed something the modern world has almost completely forgotten. The shared night. When one person was awake, someone else usually was too. Old people slept lightly and kept watch. Mothers nursed in the dark. Someone tended the fire. Someone told a quiet story. Sleeplessness was not a private experience. It was a communal one. And then we lost it. We didn't lose it to electricity, not at first. We lost it to the clock. When industrial work began, sleep was compressed into a single block, 8 hours, scheduled, optimized. The watch disappeared from medical texts. Translators began rendering first sleep as just sleep, because they couldn't imagine anything else. By the time Edison's bulb arrived, the older pattern was already a ghost. Light just buried it deeper. Today, when you wake at 3 a.m. and lie in the dark, you do it alone. The fire is gone. The other watchers are gone. The herbs are illegal or forgotten. The temples are ruins. And the only thing anyone has handed you is the word insomnia and a small white pill. But the program is still running. Cortisol still rises around 3 a.m. Body temperature still bottoms out. The brain still surfaces. The ancient watch still opens, on schedule, every night, in every human alive, whether they answer it or not. You are answering it right now. Somewhere in the world tonight, a Hadza grandmother is awake by a fire in Tanzania. A monk in Greece is rising for vigils. A nursing mother is staring at the dark in a city you'll never visit. A shift worker is walking home. A person your exact age in a country you've never heard of is checking the time on their phone and telling themselves to stop checking. You are not alone in this hour. You have never been alone in this hour. For 300,000 years, your ancestors lay awake in the deep of the night. Some of them prayed. Some of them grieved. Some of them made love. Some of them simply lay there in the dark and thought about their lives, the way you are thinking about yours right now. They didn't have a word for what you're doing. They didn't need one. It was just the watch. And they kept it, generation after generation, in a long unbroken line that runs straight through the dark and ends at the edge of your bed tonight. You are still keeping it. You just forgot that's what it was.